Hi, everybody. Whitney from Roadside here, and I am very pleased to be joined by Angela and Kelsey, who is our SEO director. We had so many amazing questions asked during our snowball fight during our marketing masterclass last week at the ADOM conference that we wanted to take some time to address those questions, make sure we give you the answers to those questions. So we're going to dive right in. I have my little stack of snowballs here ready to share some of those amazing questions that y'all asked. So I think the first one
so much great engagement. We love how engaged people are. It was awesome.
It's pretty great seeing a room full of adults throwing things at each other. That's a lot of fun. So we'll dive right in. Our first question is actually a really awesome one for Kelsey. What is the best way to identify your competitors? Is it from SEO rankings, locations, similarity to your practice, etc.? So what's the best way to identify your competitors?
The best way is, to find out, first of all, who your competition is in terms of the types of services. So you go by your personality first. Who's the closest ranking next to you that provides exactly what you provide? Then find that out. And then you can narrow it down further by proximity. Are they within a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, and then make that list. But that's definitely the easiest way.
So rankings are definitely a big part of that.
Rankings, but more so what they do. Are they the exact same as you in terms of what they offer?
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so here's a good question that someone asked. Is internal or external marketing better for a practice when it comes to bringing in new patients?
I got that one, Whit. I would say you can't ignore either one of them. As we kept talking about in the course, everything you do in the practice is marketing. So internal marketing out on broad scope is always happening. But then you also need to think of what things you can do to really pinpoint that. What can we do as a team to ask for referrals? What can we do as a team to make sure that our existing patients know that we're accepting new family and friends? And how can we get our name out in the community? So the internal marketing is always going to be a player, but then external marketing, you want to be found by people who are not referred to you. So you have to get visible, you have to have a good online presence, and you have to be active in social and in groups and ways to get your name out there, community involvement. So I would say both, but then, choose which one you want to focus on, but often they have a company or agency help them with external, so they need to focus on the internal.
Yeah, that's great. And like we mentioned during the class, focus on one thing a quarter. So boosting your internal marketing efforts as a team might be a really good focus for a quarter if that area is lacking. Okay, so for this next question, I have to say we actually got a lot of questions that were kind of on this same topic. So this might cover a broad range of the questions we got, but really it boils down to how do we engage our staff to be more a part of our marketing efforts? We got probably an easy 10 to 15 snowballs that ask some variation of that question. So Angela, maybe we can start with you. How can these teams, how can these office managers and leadership teams get their staff involved and excited?
It's a good question, and the struggle is real. And I think what we talked about is really having the tone set, knowing what the focus is, and then the best way for engagement is get everyone involved. Explain, this is our goal for the quarter. We want to grow our business. Everyone benefits when the practice grows. It's not just the doctor who's benefiting, it's everyone on the team. We're all in this together. We're all working on these same 4 walls every day. Let's figure out what we can each do to participate in this focus that as a leadership, as an owner, as an office manager, whoever's determined what the goal is, how do we focus on that? And then make it a little lighthearted and brainstorming. What can everyone do? What ideas do you have? What can you think of that would help us work together to grow little projects? Get everyone's input, and they're going to be more vested in taking steps and taking action if they were part of the brainstorming and part of the process. So start with what the goals are going to be, break it down into an easy bite-sized piece for the quarter, and then meet with them and say, hey, we all need to be in this together. We're going to track it. How do we do that? It's just really important to set the standard and then meet with them. Don't go to them and say, what can we do for marketing? You'll get deer in the headlights.
I think having that focus is such a key, because if everyone is working together towards a common goal everyone can get on board and excited about that focus. Kelsey, were you going to jump in and say something too?
Yeah, just tying in with that, I would say set small little milestones or steps where everybody can feel like they're actually accomplishing something. Because if you set this huge goal that's just unreachable right off the bat, you'll lose the whole team right away. So if you have that little, almost like a spirit of competition, and then once they see it going, then it'll just be easier to maintain that momentum.
I love that. Great point. Okay, so this is a really good question. You know, we talked about our ideal customer and kind of defining that customer persona so that we can speak to that person in our marketing. But this question kind of takes it a step back from that. How do we define that ideal customer? How do we define who our dream patient even is?
Whitney, you want to do that one, or I'm just thinking?
Well, I can start. I think, you know, one of the exercises that we have our clients do when we're working through this with them on their website is we have them think about their favorite patient. The patient, if they had 10 or 20 or 30 or 100 more people just like that, they'd be thrilled, right? So think about your favorite patients, maybe the patients. You can also even think about your target services. Like if you really want to target a specific service, your dream patient might be someone who is in need of that specific service. Those are just a couple of initial tips. Do you guys have a couple more?
I think going along with that, Whitney, like you said, your favorite patient, we all know which patients on the schedule. We go, oh, yay. And so how would your day go if you had a whole day of that? So,
Yeah.
you know, look at, if you can't think of what my target would be, or can't think, go back to the last few weeks of your schedule and look at the ones that you were excited to see walk in the door. Why were you excited? Was it the personality? Was it the procedure? Was it the, you know, what makes it enjoyable to work with that person? And that starts building what your target demographic is, because really enjoying work makes it so much better to show up every day because you love what you do. And we all have those patients that we are excited to see on the schedule that day. So start with that.
Love that. Love that. Okay, here's another good one. How do we get Google reviews?
I'll jump in, ask. That's the easiest way. I mean, patients normally, if you catch them, especially as they're checking out of the office and they're right there, if you send them a link, they'll leave you a review. I mean, especially if they love you, they're happy, they're literally thinking of you at that moment. The easiest way to do it is just to ask. So many practices either forget or wait a week or 2 weeks, and then by that time the patient's on to something else, so you'll never get them. So just do it right away.
I'm also just going to piggyback and say, look at your technology that you have. Look at how easy it is for them to write a review. Is it easy for you to text them? And coming from someone who works with lots of different practices, it's not all created equal. Almost everyone has some type of a post-op survey that goes out, but some successfully get reviews or get Google reviews, which are the ones we really care about. And some just can't get their patients to do it. And I don't know what the difference is, but there's a few reviews platforms that just, it works. They do it better. If you look at them side by side, supposedly everyone works the same. They don't. So if you want some recommendations for third parties, we're not connected to them. You know, you can always email me, but there's a couple of platforms out there that are dedicated to getting reviews, and they do it much more successfully. And for our own clients, we see the reviews skyrocket when they invest in the services that's all they do. When your practice management communication service also throws on reviews, unfortunately, it's not quite as successful as bringing one in that's just about getting your reviews.
And I will say being text message friendly is probably 80% more successful than focusing or relying either on word of mouth or just email. Everybody's living on their phone. So if you can have it, send it via text, you'll get a much higher response rate.
And I'll just add too that our practices that are the most successful are the practices that implement a variety of these different techniques between, you know, the text message request, post-op requests, but also, you know, training the team and working with the team on learning how to ask that question in person, chair side, even texting them that link while the person is there in the chair. Even also having like cards in the goodie bag or displays throughout the office or screensavers all of these things help keep it top of mind, not only for the patient, but also for the staff. And when you implement a variety of those methods, those are the practices that are most successful. And another reason too, just a point that we've heard from practice after practice after practice, is that asking them in the chair can be so successful, because even if you text them immediately after their appointment, they're on their way to pick up the kids from soccer practice. So it's just so easy to lose that opportunity if it's not right away.
And sometimes they're waiting, they're your patients who always tell you how much they love you. They always tell you this is the best office ever. And they're sitting there waiting for their anesthetic to take effect. And if the assistant or the hygienist is chatting with them and says, oh, we appreciate the nice things you say about us, if I send you a link real quick, would you provide your feedback? They'll do it while they're waiting. They'll do it while they're sitting in the chair. They've got their phone on them anyway, because they're killing time until they get numb. So some of it's just a matter of practice and the right timing. It doesn't have to be at the end of the procedure.
Yeah, that's a great point. Love that. All right, so this is not a question so much as a statement. We got a ton of snowballs that mentioned how much everyone loved the reverse marketing idea. So I just want to give another shout out to Dr. Ben Turnwald and Sarah Sherry. They are the partners behind Best Practices DDS. So for all of you that loved that reverse marketing idea, if you want to learn more, we have a great video with Sarah that we'll include a link here so that you can see that. But also you can reach out to Dr. Ben Turnwald and Sarah at bestpracticesdds.com. So we want to make sure to give them a shout out, because that's such a good idea. Okay, so next question. And again, there were a lot of questions very similar to this. How do we get the doctor involved and on board with creating content, creating media, and being engaged on social media?
Well, it's 2021, almost 2022, and they're gonna miss the boat if they don't step up, because the reality is the boat left. And that content, that media, that being more social, being more engaged, being authentic, it just became digital. It became digital years ago, but it's becoming more digital. And so just really having that conversation with doc, that you are so good with your patients face-to-face, one-on-one. We need to hold up our camera and get that same interaction that we can share digitally, because people are looking for you virtually first, and you do it so well. Just like we tell our teams, everything you do is marketing. Hey doc, everything you do is marketing. Just help us a little bit, put that out digitally, and you're off the races. So I think it's just reminding them that it's unfortunately not really optional. It's the way the world is going, and they just need to take what they already do and put it online. It's not difficult.
Yeah, we hear all the time from I hate being on video. I don't want my face being, I don't like doing, but in reality, that's really the reason a lot of the patients chose your practice.
Yeah.
They chose you for you. And so you being out there and putting yourself as the face of the practice, you are the doctor. So yeah, like as Angela said, it's kind of becoming a necessity to put yourself out there, to do a short interview, or to introduce a new technology or a new service, or anything along those lines.
Yeah, it's such a good opportunity too to help people feel comfortable with you as the doctor, because like you guys mentioned, patients are choosing to practice often based on the connection that they have. So that the doctor is a huge part of that, definitely.
And it builds trust. That's what medical and dental is about, is trusting your providers, and seeing faces, seeing real authentic interactions builds trust.
For sure. So here's a good one. How often should we post on social media?
10 times a day. No, just kidding.
Ideally,
Nobody
though,
wants that.
if you have the support to do it, ideally every day. The other kind of caveat to that is to not do the same thing over and over. Posting on social media is great, but if you're just continuously posting the same thing over and over, your audience, the community, they're not going to care. So you have to have some sort of variety, and at least once a week. But I mean, the more often, the better. That'll get more engagement, but keep it fresh.
So I'm going to jump in and say, coming from the dental office, I know that without the tools that are available to pre-schedule your posts, there is no way that you would post more than twice a month. So use the tools out there that you can pre-schedule them.
Yeah.
And we talked about it in our workshop. Plan a time for it to be social. Set aside in your time, a time in your schedule to plan it, and then set up, whatever you want. Is it 2 posts a week? Is it 3 posts a week? But pre-schedule it out so that you don't have to remember between emergencies and phone ringings and patients canceling, oh, I was supposed to post on social today. It'll never happen. So plan out how often it's going to be and use the tools that you can pre-schedule so you don't have to think about it every single day.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that just a little tip of something that we've done at Roadside is something called batch planning. And so the content team actually sits down once a quarter and plans out content for 3 posts a week ahead of time. And then that gives us space within the week to also post stuff on the fly, events, things that are going on, fun engagement pictures, videos that we take. But that way we have consistently planned out 3 posts a week ahead of time, and then we can fill in the gaps with other things. So you as a practice could even think about doing something like that. Maybe 3 posts a week planning ahead is ambitious, but let's say that you plan ahead at least 1 post a week. And then you fill in with a weekly coach post that you've gotten that week. And then you fill in with something from within the office. But like Angela mentioned, really important to plan to plan. So set aside time for yourself to do that planning, whether it's quarterly, monthly. Definitely want to make sure that you plan ahead for that time for yourself.
And just a little quick shameless plug for Whitney is she actually is creating an amazing product, which is a social media calendar for the whole year to help you have it planned out. So to be continued, watch Whitney's brilliance happen, but she's going to have it available for y'all.
Yeah, and some of you have downloaded. So every year we do a social media calendar, but this year, in addition to that, we are also doing a full 365-day dental social media strategy. So you won't even have to think about it. Just create the content and you're off and running. So we're excited about that. All right, so here's a good one. I think Kelsey's going to know the answer to this one. Can we ask out-of-state family or friends to leave us Google reviews?
You can. I mean, there's nothing wrong with out of state, out of locale. It won't have as high a benefit. The way the algorithm works is location based. So everything is geo-targeted. So the closer they physically are to the practice, and if they're using keywords that mention neighborhoods, services, things like that, it'll have a bigger effect. But yeah, absolutely, anybody can leave a review about your business or about the practice.
I think we would just add the little caveat there. I mean, if possible, let's make sure that it's legitimate, that they've received care from you so that they can comment on it. Yes, exactly.
Not just Uncle Joe's a dentist somewhere in the country.
Right. Okay, so this is a 2-word question, but it's a good one. Why Instagram?
Whitney, that's all you. Come on, you're the social girl. I'm putting that back on you. It's your world, baby.
Equal opportunities here. Because when we did our snowball fight, people answered the questions in addition to asking. Other people then wrote down answers. And I actually think the answer that was written down is spot on. So kudos to whoever wrote the answer to this one. Younger generations respond better to images and short videos. Instagram provides that platform. I would absolutely agree with that Instagram is the platform of choice for a lot of people, millennials, definitely. And so I think that it is a good opportunity to really show off your practice's personality and authenticity, and possibly be seen by a wider audience. We've just observed in general from working with our dental practices that our Instagram posts, our clients' Instagram posts are getting more traction than their Facebook posts. So just think over time, more people have moved to Instagram versus Facebook. So it's definitely not a platform that you would want to ignore. Kelsey, would you add anything to that?
Definitely. So I wanted to jump in, and the reason Instagram is kind of taking off is late last year, they changed their algorithm. So it used to be that the hashtag was the only thing that was searchable, right? Where you could put that into the, now any keyword, all text is also searchable. So if someone is searching for a celebrity dentist or the best teeth whitening or a meme on some, whatever it is, not only their account and the hashtag, but also any content. So they can actually have practices that make good use of reels, and then they save those reels into highlights. If they do a longer post instead of just maybe 5 or 6 words, those are becoming actual items that show up in searches now on Instagram, whereas Facebook, it's still not. So definitely Instagram is becoming more and more essential.
And that's
So
another
Instagram figured out how to lead the pack, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, that's another plug for Weekly Coach. You guys all got your 3 months trial gift of Weekly Coach. Take advantage of that, because our content team pre-writes those captions for those posts and includes relevant keywords so that you can be found for those different search terms. So we always recommend that you customize those captions so that they really fit your practice. We don't want it to just look like a template. So definitely customize them, but that can give you a really good jumping off point so that you're not trying to come up with this content by yourself. So another plug for trying out Weekly Coach. Okay, so another good question. Does Google look at age of reviews or red flag reviews when offices run marketing blitzes and have, say, 100+ reviews in a month? Great question.
In terms of the quantity, yes. If you get a ton of reviews in a short period of time, followed by no reviews for a long period of time, then yes, Google, their algorithm will definitely red flag that and catch that. It's always better to get fewer reviews and just keep it steady, even if you're doing a marketing plan, just to keep that continuously generating. In terms of the age, not so much, no. A review could be 6 years ago, but if it's the most relevant compared to a search, that's the one Google's going to choose. It even has a filter by most relevant. So in terms of age, no, but definitely the number, yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I can jump in with an answer to this question first. Who are the people in your practice to complete the pages in the workbook? Should it be a team effort? So this is a really good question, and I'm glad that it got asked, because the first section of the workbook, which is planning, we would recommend that section of the workbook is completed by the leadership team. The reason for that is that you're talking about big picture, the practice's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. That may not be something that you want to discuss with your entire team. That is more of a leadership thing. It is very important that the entire leadership team participate in the planning, because as we mentioned during our workshop, we want to make sure everyone is on the same page of what success looks like and which goals we want to be our priorities. So when it comes to the planning stages, just leadership for some of those. Now, some of them can then be shared with the team. For example, identifying, the customer persona, your UVP, that is really important information to share with the rest of the team. But KPIs, the SWOT exercise, I would keep those just for leadership. There are pages there also for team brainstorming. And then we would definitely recommend getting the entire team involved in the quarterly planning worksheets, which is in section 2. So the answer is basically a little mix of everyone. But when you think about like the KPIs and the SWOT, let's think about that for leadership. UVP, team brainstorming, quarterly planning, let's get the entire team involved in that. And then the resources in the back of the book, also very good things for the entire team. There's some good social media tools in there, and you can definitely share that with the entire team.
And competitor analysis sometimes is a good thing to get the whole team on board, because get some honest opinions of someone. Say, pretend you didn't know our office and you didn't know how amazing we really were. What would you think about us based on our online visibility, our reviews, our social presence, our website? If you were finding us for the first time, tell me what your first response is, and get some team feedback. Have them be a really safe place for them to be honest, and you'll get some interesting perspectives of, I didn't like this and I did like this when I found us online for the first time. So yeah, I would say include the team in that section also.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And once you and the leaders set the goals for the year and the priorities for the year, then you can go to the team and be like, these are our goals and priorities. Now let's brainstorm what we're going to do with that and how we're going to accomplish that, right? So leadership team when it comes to KPIs and goal setting, and then the rest of the team when it comes to actual implementation throughout the year. All right, so here's another one that I can definitely start with. What happens if a patient gives you a bad review? So first, don't panic, because, yes, panic if you're getting a lot of bad reviews, but if it's just one bad review and you have all these great reviews, it's not the norm. Don't panic. Not everyone is going to be the right fit for every single person, right? So the occasional bad review is going to happen, and it actually makes everything look more legitimate and more authentic. The other recommendation that we have is to write a response that is not defensive, but purely, when you think about how you craft that response, think about the other people who will be reading it. And so it's appropriate to thank the person for their feedback, to let them know that you and the team will use that feedback and will learn from it and grow from it. Even if it is a flat out, completely dishonest review, you want to be very, very careful about how you respond, saying something that does not come off defensively. I think Angela mentioned an example during our workshop, thank you for your feedback. It is our policy to, or we strive to, and then state what you strive to accomplish. That response, that level-headed, even response, is going to help other people see that you care about what the person took the time to say, and that you guys are going to use it as a learning opportunity if you can. Angela, would you add anything to that?
No, I would, again, just be very careful about not responding directly to them. Your response is intended for the other people who are going to be reading it later. Because often if someone's going on and writing you a bad review and they're being nasty, there's probably not a lot you could say. They're just in a bad mood, or they had a bad day. So your response is intended for long-term readership. And sometimes it's just, like Whitney said, very generic and our policy, or just offering, we would like to discuss this personally. Please reach out to Tina on the team. Here's her number. She would love to discuss your concerns with you. Our policy is not for procedures to ever be unpleasant. Please reach out to, whoever, just make it very generic without saying, well, you're the one who didn't show up for your appointment, whatever it is. Unfortunately, sometimes emotions get high and you feel like defending yourself. Don't defend yourself. Just be very, very professional in your response, because it's for others.
And I would also just add to that, if on the off chance there was actually an error made, or a situation could have been handled better, own it. That's the time to own it, because there's an acronym that Google uses in ranking is EAT, which is your expertise, authority, and trust. When you take that time to own the responsibility of a situation that could have been handled better, you are massively building your authority and other people's trust in you. So that negative review can actually help in terms of showing up on search rankings. So that response back is huge.
That's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'll just piggyback too on one of the things Angela mentioned. If you can take that conversation offline, not only does that look great, my name is Whitney, I'm the office manager, and I would love to take care of this for you. Please reach out to me at this phone number. Not only does that look really good to other people, but also sometimes if the person actually does reach out and you are able to take it offline and have that conversation with them and try to make things right, sometimes they'll remove the review because you handled it. So that's another not in all cases, but occasionally that can happen. So that's another plus of trying to take it offline. So we have one more snowball to answer here. And it's a great question that I think a lot of people have. How much time should be spent on social media? Do you want me to start? You guys want me to kick that one off? Well, one of the tips that we give is, think about your time budget the same way that you might think of your dollars budget, right? So there's a wide range of recommendations of how much of your gross revenue to spend on marketing. So we could think of the same thing when it comes to our time. So if you think about a 40-hour work week, if we were to recommend that 5% of your gross overall revenue go towards your marketing, and it's usually anywhere between 5 and 15%, that's what experts generally say. So if we translate that to time, if we say 5% of your 40-hour work week should be spent on marketing efforts or social media efforts, that would be about 2 hours out of the week. So, whether that's a solid chunk of 2 hours, or whether that's 15 minutes here, throughout the week, daily, whatever works for you. But we would recommend planning and blocking out, 5% of your week to spend that time.
And I just want to add, just like your marketing budget gets allocated between the different things, the financial marketing budget gets allocated between the different things you're doing. Is it print? Is it Google Ads? Is it your website? Is it a campaign in the community? You budget out how much marketing budget you have across those platforms. The same thing needs to be with your marketing time. Look at the different things you want to pay attention to for your marketing, and allocate the chunks of time to the different departments or the different focuses that you want to do on your marketing.
And that goes along with, again, plan to plan. So, in the workshop, Angela and I mentioned at least quarterly, if not monthly, block yourself out a chunk of time to do your planning. And that is going to be your opportunity to really kind of figure out not only what your focus is going to be, what your goals are going to be, but how you're going to spend that time on a weekly basis. Because that way it's not just, oh, I have 2 hours blocked out for marketing and I don't know what I'm going to do today, but you actually have your plan because you've already sat down to come up with what that's going to be. So I am going to wrap things up. This was awesome. Kelsey, Angela, you guys are amazing. Thank you for joining me for this Q&A. For all of you watching, we hope that this has been helpful for you. And if there's a question that we did not get to, please just let us know. Shoot us an email. We're happy to help you out in any way we can. And also, if you requested a website audit, we're going to have a link in the email for Angela's calendar. We have a lot of audits to do, which is awesome. So we're going to go ahead and prioritize them first come, first serve based on the order in which everyone books on Angela's calendar. If you requested it, we will definitely get it for you, but we'll put them in order of whoever books on Angela's calendar first. And if you did not request a website audit, but you regret that and want that audit after all, you can also book time on Angela's calendar. We would love to help you out. So with that, thank you, everybody. It was great to see you again.
Thanks, guys.
And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Request your free website audit and competitor analysis from our team today.